Ieva is the Director of Development of Renewable Manufacturing Gateway, a Pittsburgh-based non-profit merchant bank that advises early-stage companies in the renewable energy space, utilizing its global industry relationships. Ieva's specialty is creating bankable business proposals for companies which own innovative technologies in renewable energy space. She combines her expertise as an entrepreneur with her experience in development of clean tech ventures to enable her clients to obtain low-cost capital and commercialize globally.
First, I want to thank for the opportunity to be here. Renewable Manufacturing Gateway is a non-profit merchant bank, and our goal is to create manufacturing jobs. Being located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we see that offshore wind generation industries can develop in Great Lakes, and we want to be part of helping to create the supply chain for offshore wind industry there. And I really liked the presentation by Mr. Williamson, the previous presentation, where he said that success of establishing offshore wind generating space is a collaborative effort, and regions have to be cooperative in sharing information, in supporting new technologies and developing projects, and only that's the way how to go. And Renewable Manufacturing Gateway definitely want to be part of it. In fact, we are already members of Great Lakes Wind Network. Another thing that I wanted to mention is, it is great to talk about project development, but what underlies project development in a new space like offshore wind power generation, it is the technology. And where the technology comes from? It is either an effort of large corporations who spin off new technologies, letting them commercialize themselves, find distribution markets, find the use in industry, or those are entrepreneurs who happen to know the space and who happen to develop a widget who can become part of a bigger existing technology out there in the market. And these new inventions are associated with very, very high risk. Why? Because investors in the United States who are ready to invest in risky ventures are private investors. In fact, last year, $6 billion that were invested in clean businesses came from private equity and venture capital space. 18% of these $6 billion were allocated to wind industry. And investments were primarily in technologies that can reduce carbon emissions and create energy efficiencies. That's exactly what we're looking for. Renewable Manufacturing Gateway works with early stage companies who have developed some level of prototype during their seed funding stage. And they need more capital to finish development of prototype, to test it, and find the market, and be ready to bring this opportunity to venture capitalists for the A round of funding. So things that we would look at is definitely the value proposition. And there's a thing, these new technologies have business plans written on 150 pages, but if they don't have a good pitch, and if they don't know exactly how this technology can generate revenues as soon as possible, if they have only one source of revenue generation in mind, and they can't really be flexible with implementing this technology in maybe some existing technologies, or to make it work together with existing technologies, that might be a problem. So we always look for this value proposition, and then we provide advice what to do better. In power generation, very important is offtake agreement. So, for example, if someone wants to develop a new project, power offtake agreement would be #1 thing to have. What else? Finding the right markets. That is a question that we always try to help answer in technology companies. Very often markets, especially for the testing phase of technology, these markets are not in the United States, especially for renewables, especially if it requires stronger winds to test the hurricane sustainability. Then we look at places that are usually developing countries where we can put up a prototype, where we can test it. And I want to make it clear, we haven't done anything related to offshore wind, but conceptually, why not? It is all doable. And by going to developing countries, by trying to implement technologies there, you get a lot of support in terms of funding from international funding organizations such as World Bank, such as OPIC. They are all looking to help to develop economies in these developing countries. And if we can develop proof of concept of a new technology over there and then bring it back to the United States and manufacture it, that's perfect. I've seen a couple of business plans that try to promote new solutions for energy storage. And comparing onshore and offshore wind, we clearly know that there is more wind capacity offshore. So it requires larger batteries, larger storage capacity. And this particular business plan was about technology that can effectively store energy and burn it when it's actually needed. So it shows that offshore wind is becoming an integral part of how to commercialize other technologies that are related to energy storage. And that shows that offshore wind will develop because there is a demand. Companies who own these storage batteries, for example, especially if they are large corporations, they can participate as a strategic investor. They can take share of risk from the project. And I think that's an important factor when you look at the cost of capital to develop a project. You have to spread the risk among as many stakeholders as possible. And then each individual stakeholder will face less risk.
In some of these European facilities they've had, whether it be the sponsors put up extra facilities in case their cost overruns, or whether it be the EPC contractor. I mean, it's a big, the banks will sort of cordon off their risk, but somebody else has to be there in terms of mitigating it if something goes wrong.
Investment in new technology always looks at the future, what this technology can be developed in the future. And a lot of emphasis nowadays have been put on, let's make these technologies cheaper, more effective. Let's improve them so that the total cost of capital goes down. And here I want to sort of emphasize how important is R&D and proof of concept of new technologies. And the further we go along this path, the more new improvements will come on the table. And that's when offshore wind industry can really see the takeoff. Because right now, these first projects, obviously, are going to be very, very expensive. Investors who seek more of a PR or sponsorship fame to sponsor such big, expensive projects, I can see that only that will be the beginning. The actual industry will take off once we reach efficiencies and more cheaper technologies. Once the investment that U.S. federal and state governments are investing in R&D to develop these batteries, to think of more efficient ways how to run the wind turbine, how to build the foundation into the water. Once these things are more affordable, then more projects will be developed. It's pretty simple.